Hi guys, I just watched the Dark Knight Rises trailer. Now, the Dark Knight Rises is due to be released in 2012. Now, I should preface this by saying that I'm a massive Batman fan. I love the comics and graphic novels. I adore the two Tim Burton films. I know they have their critics, but Batman 89, as it's kind of known now, and Batman Returns are two of my favourite films. The less said about the Joel Schumacher films, the better. And when Christopher Nolan's films came out, I I was really skeptical. I suppose some people would maybe say I was a bit of a Burton fanboy. You know, I grew up with those two Batman films and with Michael Keaton as Batman, and I still, even now, think Michael Keaton is the definitive Batman. But I think The Dark Knight, the previous Batman film, is actually the best Batman movie ever made. Christopher Nolan's Batman films have been phenomenal so far. It started off with Batman Begins, starring Christian Bale as Batman, Michael Caine as Alfred. You had Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, and Cillian Murphy as the Scarecrow. And then in The Dark Knight, you had Heath Ledger as the Joker and the other actors reprising their roles. I and I should mention Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon because he's been probably the linchpin in the entire series. So The Dark Knight Rises is the film which is coming out in 2012, and it's very much being marketed as the final installment. So we will have hopefully three wonderful films which complete an entire story arc for the Batman character. And then when Warner Brothers want to release, any further Batman films, what they'll do is they'll reboot. Hopefully, they won't do an origin series again. I'm not really interested in seeing an origin series again. They'll just jump straight in stylistically with a different aesthetic, with a different director, with a different vision. Hopefully, they'll go and do that. As much as I love the Batman films, they probably should wait for a little while before they do it. But anyway, I'm here to give you my opinion on the new Dark Knight Rises trailer. Now, there was a teaser trailer released a few months ago, and a lot of people didn't like it because it was just Jim Gordon. Obviously, he looked like he was either dying or severely ill in a hospital bed, talking to a Bruce Wayne off camera, telling him that Batman has to come back for it. So Batman has been gone. And then we got to see Batman standing in the rain, looking like he's been beaten and downtrodden and about to fight Bane. I really liked the original trailer. I thought it was really effective. I watched it in the cinema first. I think it was when I went to see Harry Potter, and I just got that buzz you get, like, which very rarely happens in the cinema. But every now and then a trailer just makes you go, amazing, and the Dark Knight Rises trailer did. So I've just watched the second trailer, which is no longer a teaser; it's a full trailer, and I'll leave a link to it down below. What I would like to say is this: I remember watching the trailer for Batman Begins. And the trailer for Batman Begins I didn't think was very good. I didn't think it was a very good trailer, and I was really skeptical of the film. Like I say, I was a big Burton fanboy. I went to see Batman Begins in the cinema, and I was blown away by it. I was like, wow, the trailer did not represent what this film was very well. The marketing campaign for the following film, The Dark Knight, which I think is the greatest Batman film ever made, was really well done, and I thought the trailers were quite good. But this second trailer for The Dark Knight Rises, I'm not entirely convinced by. It feels like it doesn't entirely convey what the film's going to be. I'm a little bit skeptical about Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, but I was skeptical about Heath Ledger as the Joker, and he was unbelievable. So you've got to trust Christopher Nolan, and Christopher Nolan is coming off the back of Inception, which is one of my favourite films of the past 20 years. So you really hope that The Dark Knight Rises builds upon that. My problem with Christopher Nolan is that I think each of his films has been better. I know people go back to Memento and they think that's his greatest film, but I don't. I think each film has got better and better and better, and at some point he's got to go back down. You kind of feel that. You hope he's going to be a la Alfred Hitchcock, where he makes films for like a 20, 30 year period and they're all great. But I felt that with the trailer, with the new Dark Knight Rises trailer, which shows you Bane, it shows you Catwoman, Tom Hardy is playing Bane, Anne Hathaway's playing Catwoman. They actually showed you a scene with Catwoman and Bruce Wayne dancing together, which I thought was really reminiscent of Batman Returns. So it'd be interesting to know. There are actually some things that I do feel have been taken from the original Burton films. I know Christopher Nolan and people like that probably wouldn't admit it, but there are certain things which I think have been taken from those Batman films and implemented into these ones. Although it's a completely different aesthetic, it's all about realism as opposed to Tim Burton's gothic fairy tales. But you see Anne Hathaway as Selena Kyle as the sort of Catwoman character, and I'm just a little bit, she's definitely got, I think, the look of Catwoman, but does she have the acting chops? We're going to find out, I suppose. But like I say, I trust Christopher Nolan, so she probably does, and that's probably why he cast her. You would hope. I think there was a poster released about The Dark Knight Rises, and it shows you Bane walking away from the Batman cowl, which has been smashed, and they're marketing this, saying this is the end of the legend. So I think, the question is Nolan going to be really brave? Is he killing Batman off? That would be pretty amazing if the end of the film ended with Batman dying heroically, saving the city, and Batman's example bringing Gotham City out of its sort of corrupt, criminal-like state. That would be amazing. He'd have to be incredibly brave to do that, but he could do it because this is supposed to be a self-contained story in these three films. But I think it's probably more so alluding to the fact that in the comic books, Bane famously breaks Batman's back. Batman then gets someone else to replace him, and that becomes problematic, and eventually Bruce Wayne heals and gets rehabilitated and comes back as Batman and defeats Bane, and has to actually defeat the replacement Batman because that guy goes too far. I wonder if that's what what's his name? Oh God, that's terrible. I can't remember. But the lad from Third Rock from the Sun, he was in Inception as well. For some strange reason, I've got John Lewitt in my head, but I know that's not his name. I wonder if that is his character. Some people have also they're claiming that he's going to be Robin. I don't really see that happening. I think that with the new trailer, there's certain things. I mean, we see a bit of CG with the whole football field collapsing and all that, and it looks good. It does look good. My worry is there's a lot of reports of the prologue, which has been released with on IMAX, the first 6 minutes of the film, which is all about Bane, that the audience couldn't hear what Bane was saying through his mask. And the one thing the Dark Knight got wrong was Batman's voice. It was ridiculous. I mean, it is laughable at times. I think Batman's voice, as brilliant as the film is, they should go back to the way Keaton did the voice, which is sinister rather than shouting and angry. But we'll see what happens with that. But the worry is that the same things happen with Bane's voice, and there's going to be problems with that on the final release. I hope not, but we'll see what happens with that. I'm just not entirely convinced with the trailer is what I'm trying to say. I know this has been scattergun all over the place, but I'm not entirely convinced with it. I don't think it's a fantastic trailer. I think it shows all of the main players, but it just didn't make me feel excited. I think it's an alright trailer, but I'm looking forward to a further trailer down the road, because this is obviously, they're editing right now and they're just putting stuff together, so hopefully we'll get something that's a bit better down the road. I think Tom Hardy should be a fantastic Bane, and I'm really, really looking forward to the film. Fingers crossed it's going to be awesome, because I really want to have a fantastic superhero trilogy. We've not had one, Spider-Man fell at the last hurdle. Spider-Man 3 was all over the place, but I don't blame Sam Raimi for that. I think that was the studio's fault. I think that film was obviously supposed to be about Spider-Man and Sandman, but the studios forced Sam Raimi to put Venom in there, and it just became a bit of a mess. Superman, although I actually like Superman 3, I think, some people don't. Superman really lost its way. Richard Donner should have helmed those three films. I know there's a Superman 4, but let's not talk about that. And Tim Burton wanted to do a third Batman film, and I think we would have gotten a brilliant superhero trilogy if Burton had been able to do Batman Forever, because the whole idea of Burton's Batman Forever was, right, we've shown you Batman the psychopath, but we're going to take him through now, and he's going to get to the point where he does it not out of trauma, but out of just wanting to help people. And they didn't let Burton direct Batman Forever, which is a real shame. Interestingly, Nolan's Batman film was always rumoured to be, the final chapter of it was always rumoured to be that you would get to see Batman finally as he is in the comics. I would love to see Batman Dark Knight Rises end with like a sort of heroic, iconic image of Batman, but with like the yellow symbol, with the black Batman insignia, and I think that would be really, really sleek. The Batmobile will get destroyed in the Dark Knight, so hopefully, something more sleek. In this new trailer, I didn't like the look of the Batwing. It just looks, I know it's supposed to be real tech, but I don't think they should have had the Batwing in this. I think that could be a mistake. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it'll be fantastic. I love Chris Nolan's films. I think they're wonderful. Inception is unbelievable. Dark Knight's unbelievable. Batman Begins is brilliant. The Prestige is fantastic, So, really, this should be good. I just hope that it doesn't fall at the last hurdle, because The Dark Knight was a big surprise for people. It elevated the superhero genre into, that was a crime thriller. It was it was influenced by films like Heat. It wasn't just a comic book movie. It was more than that. And I think The Dark Knight Rises very much will be it. But the last thing I want to say about the trailer, I think they may have a slight problem with the audience if the trailer is indicative of the movie, which is they seem to be playing this idea of people rising up from the underclasses and taking down the elite, and Bruce Wayne is certainly amongst the elite, so those who are rich. And the current economic crisis, when countries are failing, economies are failing, and people are actually really thinking, the elite are okay, but we're not, we're struggling. I don't know what the message is going to be. It'd be nice to see them explore that within the film. If they explore it and make Batman more a champion of the people, that would be great, but we just have to see. If it is, let's just smash down the underclass, then I think some people are going to have a problem with that. I certainly would have. But I'm still really looking forward to it. I know I've just torn it to shreds, but I'm really looking forward to it. Can't wait to see the final chapter, and I just wish it was coming out now. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the new Batman trailer, Dark Knight Rises? Link down below. Check it out. And this video's been all over the shop. I apologise.